All right, welcome back. This is Hope at Dawn, and my name is Beatrice Watare. It's now time for the newspaper review. So, we are going to be going through the Daily Nation and also the Standard. Let's start off with the Daily Nation. And I see here the very first story is why Atwoli is under siege. Cornered combative veteran trade unionist Francis Atwoli is between a rock and a hard place, with things starting to align against him. From a new push to halt private guards' call to deductions and a bill seeking to end his long career, to criticism over his lukewarm stance on workers' issues from an opposition he dumped after the 2022 election. Things are definitely catching up right there, and that is on pages 4 and 5. I see Kotubo sided with Azimio ahead of 2022 polls. And moving on, I see here wage bill crisis, push for single payroll. This is a story on the back page. A centralized payroll system for all public sector workers will help weed out wastage through irregular multiple payments to individuals and ghost workers. Several state agencies have proposed. And here is the back page right there. And I see here that state agencies come together to find a solution to the public wage bill crisis. And PS Amos Gathesha here is saying that the ultimate objective is to have all payroll systems in the public service migrated to HRISK, Human Resource Information System, Kenya. But that's a story you can find on the back page of the Daily Nation. And I see here money sent by Kenyans abroad up by 19% in the first quarter of the year. So Kenyans living and working abroad sent home a total of $1.2 billion. That is 158 billion during the first 3 months of this year, marking an 18.8% jump compared to the inflows recorded during a similar period last year on the back of easing inflationary pressure in developed economies. Very, very, very interesting. Quite a lot of money right there. And that percentage is up by 19% in the first quarter of the year. Tuseme tu mambo ni mazuri, eh? Okay, and moving on to the second page of the Daily Nation, it's what we touched on: talent and class as drama festivals end, okay? Plays with thought-provoking themes and social commentary carry the day. This is really interesting because I know even in those times, those days when I used to be very active with the drama festivals and all, we always used to have topics that were very much aligned to what's happening in the country. And I think this year the same has definitely happened. And I see here Kisumu Girls High School celebrating after clinching victory in the best CBC item category with their creative cultural dance during the 62nd edition of the Kenya National Drama and Film Festival at the University of Embu. Very, very interesting. I also see here Westlands Primary School celebrates after emerging top in the CBC play, sponsored by the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development at Kangaroo School in Embu. So congratulations to the schools that have bagged the trophies. And moving on to page 3, I see an easy Nakuru estate where pesky baboons have invaded homes. Oh my. I see in free area neighbors are not just people, but also mischievous baboons with a penchant for damaging property. Miss Veronica here saying, I have always been hardworking. I used to do casual jobs to provide for my family. Now I can't do anything. I depend on people. Look at that story. That is on page 3. And moving on to page 6, I see Mudavadi takes gamble in merger plan. So Prime Cabinet Secretary hopes the move to fold his ANC party is going to pay off. And Mr. Omboko Milemba, who is the ANC SG, anasema, I'm certainly sure he, Mudavadi, will call me and have a conversation on this matter as well as his plans. Look at that story. That is on page 6. And I also see page 7 here, something that has been happening, report on ambassadorial nominees out this week. A number of nominees face graft and competence questions during vetting. And I see here MP Nelson Koech stating that it is very disappointing and frustrating to interview Mr. Charles Githinji when you don't even know what EACRF is. Oh my, oh my. Very, very unfortunate. People should do their research very well. And lastly, here, KEMSA caught in fresh row as auditor flags fishy tender. I see House panel investigating if farm deliberately took long to finish project to make more cash. Auditors attached to the House committee saying this tender is still open and could lead to an escalation of cost. We need to have it closed. Look at that story that is on page 8 of the Daily Nation. And let's just look at that one story hapa kwenye Healthy Nation, which is the main story here, is saying what life is like for Kenyans living with mind blindness. Did you even know there was something like mind blindness? I did not know. Saying I first got to know of a fantasia 5 months ago after a cognitive neurologist carried out a series of tests during a medical appointment. And I see here Lynn Wanjiru, who is 28, a nurse from Murang'a County, was shocked a few months ago to find out that she was among the few people who could not visualize things in their mind. Oh my. You know, if you try to visualize something in your mind, can you see it? Or do you have mind blindness? This is quite interesting. I think people do not even know, because I see here experts do not even know what causes it, but it is being classified as a congenital or acquired aphantasia. So look at that story. That is on page 4 and also 5 of the Healthy Nation. That is the main story. Please do have a look at it, because hata mimi naona nitachukua hii kipeji nikieke kando. Maana I too did not know there is something like mind blindness, but that's on the Daily Nation, the Healthy Nation main story. And let us go to the sports a little bit, and I see here that on page 39, it will be a total war. Barca primed for PSG showdown. I see here Barca ready to suffer in battle against Paris Giants. Xavi says they carry 3-2 lead in the French capital. In other news, Auditor General queries usage of funds on 10 county stadiums. Audit shows irregularities in Kakamega, Siaya, Bungoma, Nandi, and Tharaka Nithi counties. That's a story that you can look at on page 38. And that's it for the Daily Nation. Let us now move over to the Standard and see what is being reported right here. And of course, the very first story here, I see united by fear factor intrigues. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula held a meeting to discuss government agenda at a time the two leaders are under political pressure. That's a story on page 6. Therefore, Gachagua and Wetangula could be united by fear, informed by the very person who should be cautious to disorient 2022 political arithmetic. On the top page as well, I see here Medic Plan a weekly protest, and I also see Nigeria claims wanted a cripple boss in Kenya. And I also see here Obi rules Boston Marathon. That is still highlighted on the top page. Let us get in. On page 2, I see EACC summons Wairia wife in tenders probe. The 8 have up to today morning to surrender to EACC, and Wairia and wife are facing charges over award of tenders to 2 companies. Look at that story. That is on page 2. On page 2, on the county beat, I see Mashogu state to build 15,000 classes for grade 9. And in other news on page 3, Church agrees to phase out all children homes. This is a story that we covered not so long ago. Government initiative hopes to remove 45,000 children from CCIs by 2032. Catholic Church runs hundreds of children homes across the country. So look at that story that is on page 3. And down here, I see music producers share 17 million royalties in the first quarter of 2024. Can you imagine? So this is really, really interesting. The Kenya Association of Music Producers, KMP, has announced the disbursement of 17 million in royalties to its members for the first quarter of 2024. Look at that story on page 3, Apochini. Page 4 here, I see Health Workers Union now defy Koome, vow to hold weekly demos. the health workers have not come down. I see here doctors want President William Ruto to establish a multi-sectoral working team. They say they have filed a defamation case against the IG. I see here return to work. No amount of threats, intimidation, or victimization will make us suspend this strike. That is what the health workers are saying. We will have to sit and have a return to work agreement that spells out protection for the CBA that was signed. The KMPDU Secretary General said. Hey, nakwambia, if you have signed something, this CBA that was signed years ago, this is what they are crying about. And wamesema no amount of threats, victimization, or whatever is going to make them put their strike down. So the tools are still down for the health workers. We really pray that there will be mediation and agreement, because at the end of it all, we have so many patients languishing and crying and even dying because of this strike that is ongoing at this time. And I see here page 7, Arati makes formal complaint against officers at DCI offices. So Kisii governor, accompanied by lawyers James Orengo and Otiende Amolo, says politicians are using senior regional police officers to harass him. That's a story you can look at page 7. And Upper Kando on education, Mashogu ordered to answer tribalism claims in VC hiring. All right, and now let us go to the back page, which is the sports page for Standard. Arsenal and Liverpool left in pain as momentum shifts in Man City's favor. We covered this yesterday here with Gigi. And I see champions Manchester City now lead the table after Arsenal and Liverpool lose. It will now be tough for the Gunners and Reds to dislodge Guardiola's team from the top. Let's move on, and I see page 39, Obiri races to her second consecutive Boston title. Obiri leads podium sweep for Kenyans with Lokedi second and Kiplagat third. Chebet fails to defend men title as Ethiopia's Lema races to victory. And looking here on page 38, I see Musingu and Tigoi girls show their class in schools hockey. Musingu school retained the boys hockey title after seeing off St. Anthony's Kitale. Tigoi girls dethroned East Africa champions Nyamira girls. That's it for the Standard and also the Daily Nation. It is important for us to know what is happening in our country so that we can also know what to pray and how to pray. And for me, I think the biggest prayer point of the day today is on the health workers. I mean, we need to come to an agreement so that patients do not continue to suffer in public hospitals. And also, remember, you can always tune in to Hope FM. That is at the top of every hour. We have news updates right here on Hope TV. We have Dira at 7 p.m. and also at 9 p.m. we have News Watch. So let me take a short break. Nimeze mate kidogo. But once we get back, we'll be looking at the video of the day.